Now that we have successfully set up our profiles and set up our courses, it's time to dive in to see what Schoology can do for us and our students.
All right, welcome back to Schoology 101. So we have now set up our profiles. We have now set up our courses, the frame of our courses, and now it's time to get in the nitty-gritty of what we can offer our students and do with our students in our courses itself. So I am in a course on the course page. Again, to get there, I click on my courses in the top tab, or if I'm on my home page when I sign in, I'll either have to switch from recent activities to course dashboard, or it will automatically be there, and I'll click on the course that I want to work in. So we're in the Schoology 101 training folder, and so now I'm going to click on, let's go to, well, since we started this folder previously, actually we're going to go to practice lessons. So we're going to go into this folder here, just a blank folder, and so we're going to start adding materials. So everything you want to add in Schoology is here in the add materials area. It's got a full list of things, and don't be deceived, it actually is longer than this. If you scroll within the window, you'll see it's got more things there. You may have less of these items on the left, or on the right rather, depending on what your school has for you, or you may have more depending again what your school has within their enterprise, or what's built into Schoology rather. If you have an item that you don't see here, contact your IT person or your school administrator, and they will be able to find out how to give you access to that in Schoology, because a lot of our programs actually link into Schoology, which is quite nice. So we're just going to go right down the line so you can see the basics of what we can do within Schoology. So the first one, we've already added folders. That was in our previous video. If you didn't see that, head on back there. When you're structuring your Schoology, you'll put those folders together. So we're going to go down below that. So we're going to click on add an assignment. This is the primary tool that I use within my classroom. Just because you do more assignments, you do quizzes and tests as you should within your classroom. So the first thing we're going to do on almost all of these is we're going to give it a name. So we're working on, I was previously talking about geology, but I'm going to switch the subject to something more in my wheelhouse. So let's go back to English, and we're going to say, okay, we're going to do a theme assignment. I'm just going to call it theme, and we'll say 101, just the easy basics. In the description, this is where you put your instructions. I try to be as descriptive as possible in my instructions for two reasons. One, it helps me remember what I want my students to do, because very often when we're lesson planning in bulk, we'll forget the little nitty-gritty things that we wanted them to do. So it kind of becomes a refresher for me when I'm talking about the assignment. The other thing it does is it allows your students that may not be in front of you, they may not be focused on what you're talking about, they may not be in the room because they're having to learn digitally that day based on the circumstances of the world. It lets them see what the assignment is, what they need to do. It also gives them a reference while they're working to go back, because just like we forget things, they'll forget things as well. And so if they have the instructions there, they're more likely, and I won't say they will because we know our students, they're more likely to be able to figure things out on their own. You will still get people asking questions. It's going to happen. There's a number of things we can do in our description. So we have our basic word settings, right? Bolding, italics, underlining. We can bullet, we can number lists, we can change colors, we can change highlights, we can do all those basic formatting tools, as well as orientation. The other fun stuff that we can add in here is we can link websites. So if we want them to access a specific site for research, I can link that in the instructions. I just put the link in here. So if I put google.com, which I don't think it's going to work. Oh, there it is. And I say search here, I can put a link in the instructions where they can click on it and access the sites I want them to. I can insert content. So if I have a video I want them to watch, I can pull that straight from YouTube, which is an option here. If you use Vimeo, you can pull it straight from Vimeo. If you have a document within your OneDrive you want them to access, like a PDF, you can use that here. You can pull a picture in. You can, again, do another link as well. Symbols, if you're a math teacher, equations, I am not, so I don't know any of those, but they're there for you. So you can click on them, and that gives you more options for things that you can add in that your students may want to use. Again, I don't know what these things mean because I am not a math teacher and will never pretend to be one. So recommend playing around with those. The first time you do click on some of these, so like the OneDrive resource app, you're going to have to get access to your OneDrive. It's just as simple as logging in. But once you do, what you'll see is your entire folder they're ready to go. So you can pull in assignments, you can pull in, let's say I want to pull in this PDF here for them to use. I can import it either as a link or as a private link, and it will import it for me so they can click on it and it will just give them access to that document. So number of things there. So that's inserting content. You can also add tables. So if you have them separating in groups or you have a table of information to provide for them, you can put that there. You can add, there's some preset settings. So if you have a heading and you want to make things bold and bigger, you can make them headings. You can do block quotes, things of that nature. And then text size is also an option for you here. On the bottom, there's also options to insert other items. So if you want to insert a file from your desktop, you can. I have a Bitmoji I can insert if I wanted to. It's not going to pop up in the instructions, but they'll have access to the assignment, and I'll show you what that looks like here in a second. You can add links in here. Again, these won't, anything on this bottom row aren't going to add to your descriptions, your instructions. They're going to add to the assignment, and I'll show you what that looks like here in a moment. I can add an audio recording or video if I want to, straight from Schoology. And then there's some other tools in here that I haven't played around with, but again, Schoology is built to do a lot of things even I myself haven't explored. So keep exploring if you want to learn more about those. The next thing you can do in an assignment, so if you want it, you can keep it just like that. Here's instructions, work, and then your students can post their answers, and I'll show you what that looks like here in a moment. If I want them to work on a custom worksheet or something that I have created that I want them to edit, that's where we use this format options here, and we click into our OneDrive assignments. So it has to be in your OneDrive. It can't be in a Google document because Google doesn't link to our Schoologies unless your school has Google set up and not Microsoft. But most of our network will have Microsoft, in which case you click on your OneDrive assignment. It'll take you to that same folder we were in before, but it will only let you access things that are editable. So let me give you an example. So if I go to ACE International, you'll notice I can't click on PDFs anymore, but I can click on all my Word documents. So in this document, I open it, I click on Activity 4.2, and it'll attach in here. And what it'll do is it will give it a copy to each student. So every student will get their own copy that they can edit, and then they'll submit it straight from their Word document. That way they're working in the exact format that I want them to work in. And you can see here when I click on view what that looks like. So I clicked on activity 4.2. If I click on view, I can see what it looks like. Oh, and at this moment, I don't have permission. Fun. Here it is. So there's a table for them to fill out. It's got instructions on it, and they complete the table on their own or with their group, and then they'll submit it. And they'll have an option when they're in their Word document to click submit in the top right corner while they're working. That will have to be done through Word. It won't get done through Google because that's not how our system is linked. Did I mess it up? Okay, fixed it. So again, that's the OneDrive assignments. That's only if you want them working in a specific worksheet. So I associate that with worksheets. If I want them to do a worksheet digitally, I do it through format options and the OneDrive assignments. And then below is the easy stuff. It's your due dates to make sure you set the due dates. Always make sure you set a time for things to be due, just to make sure that there's a specific end time. You set your point value. Below point value is where you will set up. So the first time you are here, you won't see anything. It'll just say create new grading category or ungraded. You'll have to create your grading categories. So I have a practice grade and I'll also have a mastery grade. And now I'll know that these are mastery or practice. You can name them quizzes, you can name them in class assignments, whatever your titles are for things. I tend to make my life simpler just by doing mastery and practice because it's what I know and it makes my life a little bit easier. Again, set your point value. You can set it to a specific grading period. So if this is for quarter one, you'll see once your school has set up your schedule, it'll customize already your quarters and your semesters, and all of that will be already set up here based on Power Schools. So that'll be here for you, but you'll be able to choose what period it goes into. And then you can set what the weight is, the factor for your assignment itself. Other things, and I'll show you these in later videos because they're a little bit more advanced, but you can come down here and change your grading rubric or scale. It defaults to a numeric scale. but you can do a pass-fail if you want to. You can also create a custom rubric or base off a rubric for your course that will allow you to grade it with that rubric. And again, I'll show that in a later video. The last thing I'll show is these little tools at the bottom here. You can align specific standards or targets based on state standards if you have them, or other college readiness standards. Most of what's loaded in here are state standards, so you're not going to find a lot of your AP standards or your ACE standards if you're in advanced courses, but you will find your Florida state standards. Just a qualifier note, oh, never mind, they are here. So the best standards are already uploaded for you, and you can customize in there, math and English teachers, your different standards. What's great about this is it will track their mastery of the standards throughout the year as you keep adding this. And so you'll be able to see how they're doing in each standard outside of the assignments. And again, in a later video, I'll go more in depth on targets, but that's where you add your learning objectives and your standards as well. And then at the bottom, there's a couple things. So I can assign this to specific students if I only want to give this to certain students. So if I'm differentiating and I want this to go to all of my ESOL students, because the worksheet is meant for their ESOL level, so I can change it based on their levels as well. I can just type the student's name and put them there. I don't think I have any students enrolled, so none of them will pop up. But once I start typing, it will pop up the students' names. I can lock the assignment. So this is what I would do after the assignment's past date and I'm no longer accepting material. I'll lock it. That way students can't even submit something even late, because even if it is past due, students can submit, it'll just be late. I can enable submissions or not enable them. I can have it published to students. I can allow for grading statistics so that it'll show us the grade breakdown on that assignment. I can allow them to comment the assignment so they can say things like, hey, the link's not working, whatever that might be. And then again, I can also copy to other courses. So if you teach multiple courses, you can add it to those course pages as well. And you can put them in folders and it'll let you customize the due dates. So like, let's say you're on a block schedule and you see one class on a Monday and one class on a Tuesday, you can make the due dates different as well. And that's all right here at the bottom. Once I'm done, I click on create, which I don't think is gonna work because I made that mistake. No, it will. And then my assignment will be there. So theme 101 has been created. So what it will look like to your students which I don't have students enrolled in this course. So I have to go to a different course that I have a student enrolled in, which is myself. So you can see what that looks like. So I will go to I'll go to my student account. Okay, so in my student account, I am enrolled in a course, so I will go to an assignment. Let's go to ACE Journal Paper. Actually, there's no assignments in there. Let's go to one that has an assignment and not. There we go. So in this, you will see. Perfect. So here is an assignment. This is a 10-minute essay that I assigned previously. I'll open it up and here you can see, okay, there was our title that we put in there. Here's the instructions, the students. And so they're able to now, they can do a number of things. Now this is one I didn't give them a worksheet. So they have no worksheet to edit into. So they have a number of ways that they can submit their assignment. One, they'll click here on submit assignment in the top right corner. They can do a couple things. One, they can upload a file that they created, a Word file, Google file, whatever file they need to. Two, they can create right within here, so they can actually type the full essay if they want to. And it will give them all the tools they need, the bolding, the italics, the underlining. Or three, it also links them to their own personal OneDrives as well. So they can access their OneDrive, which this account that I have doesn't have that set up. But they'll be able to, in the apps area, access their OneDrive. So if they're working in their OneDrive, their Office 365, they can access all those files here for them as well. And then they'll just click on submit and it will submit their assignment. So that didn't work. So I'm just gonna say that is all. They can save it as draft or submit. I'm gonna submit it and now it's there for them to be graded. If they made a mistake and they want to resubmit, they can always click the resubmit button. It'll pop up for you with the most recent revision. So when you're grading, it'll go to the one that's most recent to make it convenient, but you'll be able to see all their submissions. And so that's adding an assignment. Okay, that was one of the lengthier ones. We're now going to go back and I'm going to show you all of the other options in there. And then I will dive deeper into those on later videos, because again, I think the most important one is the adding an assignment, but all the other ones are pretty much the same. So I'm going to skip over test assessments and core assessments because those get a little bit more detailed, but they're all very self-explanatory and they follow along the same rules as the add assignment, but I'll do that in a different video. This one here, adding files, links, and external tools, it just gives me a way to add resources for my students. So links to websites they need to access, files that I want them to have access to. So I can say, okay, I want them to be able to access this picture, add it there, and that way on their page, they'll be able to click on it. I want them to be able to go to a link. So let me add a link here. So I go add a link, and I'm going to say google.com, title Google. I don't know if this is going to work. And now when they click on it, it'll take them right to that link. It'll display within Schoology if it's accessible, or they'll have to click on the link that get them out of there. And it's Google for them. I can add, there's some external tools as well. Again, Schoology does more than we can even anticipate. So if you want to explore, dive on in, but you can do a lot of things within Schoology. Let's keep going down the line. So adding materials, we now go to our discussions. This is also a nice tool for your students to interact within the classroom. So same as before, we add a title. Then we add our description. So I can say, okay, post a description of a theme within Romeo and Juliet. Pardon my spelling and non-capitalization. There we go. So I tell them exactly what to do. I can set a due date. I can enable grading on the discussion, or I don't have to grade the discussion. I usually make discussions my participatory grades. So grades where I'm not really looking for specific things. I'm looking to see that the student is participating within them. And it makes it quite simple. But you don't have to grade them at all if you want them to just have them posting things. You can always align your learning objectives like we did before. Down here, there's a new setting. So same as before with individual assignments and publishing and stuff, but there's two new settings that we have. Is one, we can enable them to see responses before they post, or that they can't see the responses before they post. So it defaults to having them see everyone's response. So I always recommend clicking that. That way they have to answer it first themselves before they can see their peers' responses. The second thing we can do is we can share discussion between different class periods. So if I want students to be able to comment to other class periods, I can have it share within them. The one thing I will note about this, if you do use this, you cannot enable grading. So if you're trying to grade the discussion, you won't be able to do that because it'll be shared and it doesn't quite work the way we want it to work. But it's a fun way to have students interacting with other class periods. Then I'll create my discussion and they'll be able to add into it. And you'll be able to see their comments. They'll post down below the different things in there as well. Okay. Keep moving on. So below that, we have add a page. I will dive more in detail about the fun stuff you can do in adding a page, but this is where you can just add any instructions for students that aren't linked to discussions or assignments. It could be things as simple as, welcome. Hope you all have a great day while I am in my meeting. Please complete all the tasks. And then I can display it with the page itself, or I could have it on its own page. But it'll just be instructions for them so they can see that. I'll put that at the top so they know where to start. And it says, okay, this is where I'm starting today. I'm going to go through my assignment. So I can be more descriptive about all of the tasks for the day in this and adding a page. You can also do things like add videos and pictures. Again, I'll get more detailed into that in Schoology 201 or whatever we're calling it, the next step, 2.0. But the basics are here for you. Next, we have Add Media Album. This is where I can add a series of photos, but I can also have students add photos to this media album as well. This is a fun one if you have a lot of quotes. So I'll show you an example of that. So you can, this is a media album. It's got the 3 pictures here. and I have a series of quotes that are posted. So the students can click on them. I have them interact with them by then posting a discussion post about these quotes later on, but they can just go through the media album. So if I want to show pictures of a specific event, of some type of book or something, just as a warm-up, they can see these. I can also have them add photos to it. So if they're working in groups and creating some sort of one-pager, they can actually add their own media into the folder itself, and it will post for everyone to see. So it's a fun way to have them interacting with more visual items as opposed to more written items. So continuing on our materials journey, we have add package. Again, an extra part that I don't necessarily know how to use, but again, I go ahead and go for it. Explore. You can't break Schoology. I promise you that. So use your sandbox and just keep adding and trying new things. The last two items, once you start building your resource library, will be helpful for you. You can import resources that you save within your resource library. I'll show the resource library in a separate video. But all these assignments I've previously done and saved, I can just add them straight into my course. It makes my life a lot easier. Once I import it, it'll let me add the settings of like the due dates and the point value and all of those, so I can change them from previous times. But I'm able to add in anything that I've previously done. And then you can also find resources. So you can look throughout the Schoology's endless library, and you can maybe borrow things from other teachers, use them within your course as well. The last items, I'm not going to go through each of these, but these link you straight to your specific programs that you're using. So whatever you have added there. So click into them, add them in. It'll give students access to those programs. Make sure they have access to those programs before you link them in. Otherwise, they're not going to do anything with those links. But that's all there for you. So again, that's all the stuff you can put within your course for students to interact with. I will go through a number of these in a separate video, but that is the basics. Hope you took away all the things you need to start your Schoology journey. And I will see you at the next video.